I understood I was always going to be an outsider the moment Gerald's mother scraped my mac and cheese into the trash at our first Christmas dinner together. She didn't do it quietly. She made sure everyone at that long table in her Baltimore dining room could hear the fork scraping against ceramic, metal on porcelain, loud and deliberate. 23 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, Gerald's siblings. All of them watched her stand up, walk my dish straight to the kitchen, and dump it while I was still sitting there. The sound of it hitting the trash can echoed. I heard the lid close. I heard her rinse her hands. The water ran for a long time, long enough that the conversation at the table had gone completely silent, long enough that everyone knew exactly what was happening. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Where in the world are you listening from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing how far our community reaches. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. Your support truly helps this community grow. Thank you for being here. We have standards in this family, she said when she came back. Not to me, to the table. Like I wasn't even worth addressing directly. Christmas dinner is sacred. This isn't the time for experiments. I felt my face go hot. That specific heat that starts at your chest and crawls up your neck and settles in your cheeks where everyone can see it. My hands were trembling in my lap. I pressed them together hard enough that my knuckles went white. I was trying to disappear, trying to make myself smaller, trying to become invisible enough that maybe everyone would forget I was there. Gerald laughed, not a nervous laugh, a real one. He looked at his brother Terrence and they both shook their heads like I'd done something ridiculous. Like I'd shown up in a costume instead of spending 2 days making a dish his mother specifically requested I bring. She had called me 3 weeks before Christmas. "Simone," she'd said on the phone, her voice pleasant, warm even. "I'm planning the menu and I thought it would be nice if you brought something. A side dish, maybe mac and cheese. I know Gerald loves it when you make it." I'd been so happy, so stupidly, desperately happy. It felt like an opening. Like acceptance. I bought good cheese, 3 kinds. I made it from scratch. I added a breadcrumb, topping with butter and herbs. I tasted it 4 times to make sure it was perfect. I packaged it carefully in a ceramic dish I'd bought just for the occasion. Something nice, something that would look right on her table. And she threw it away. I didn't say anything, I couldn't. My throat had closed up completely. I felt like if I tried to speak, I would either cry or scream, and both options were impossible. So I just sat there with my hands in my lap while his Aunt Dorothy served her own mac and cheese, the one that was apparently acceptable, the one that had been in the family for 40 years. Everyone took large portions. Everyone complimented it. Gerald took 2 servings. He looked at me once while he was eating, and his expression was blank. Not apologetic, not sympathetic, just blank. Like nothing unusual had happened. His cousin Janelle, who was sitting across from me, looked down at her plate. She was younger than me by a few years. She'd been friendly earlier, asking me about work, complimenting my dress, but now she wouldn't meet my eyes. No one would. I lasted another hour before I excused myself to the bathroom and cried silently in the powder room that smelled like potpourri and judgment. I ran cold water over my wrists. I pressed a damp towel against my face. I looked at myself in the mirror and I barely recognized the woman looking back. She looked humiliated, defeated, small. When I came back, Gerald was on the couch watching football with his cousins. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't look up. I stood in the doorway for a moment, waiting, hoping, but he just reached for more chips and laughed at something Terrence said. I sat in a chair by myself for the rest of the evening. People moved around me like I was furniture. Patricia brought out dessert, homemade sweet potato pie, peach cobbler, red velvet cake. She served everyone personally. She skipped me entirely, just walked right past my chair like I wasn't sitting there. We'd been married 4 months. That was December 2019. I thought it was a one-time thing, a bad first impression. Maybe she was protective of her son. Maybe she needed time to warm up to me. I told myself all of this in the car on the way home while Gerald complained about the traffic and didn't mention what had happened even once. "Your mother seemed stressed," I said finally, carefully. My voice sounded strange, too high. "She's always stressed at Christmas," Gerald said. He was focused on the road. "Too many people. Too much food. She puts too much pressure on herself. She threw away my mac and cheese." "She what?" "In front of everyone, she threw it away." He was quiet for a moment. Then he shrugged. "She probably already had too much food. You know how she is. She plans everything down to the last detail. She probably didn't have room for another dish. She asked me to bring it." "Did she?" He sounded genuinely confused, like he couldn't remember, like it didn't matter. "Well, she probably forgot. It's fine. Don't take it personally." Don't take it personally. Those words would become a refrain, a mantra, something he said so many times over the next 4 years that I started to wonder if I was imagining things, if I was being too sensitive, if the problem was me. I should have known better. I should have recognized that moment for what it was, a preview, a warning. But I was 26 and I loved him, and I believed marriage meant working through difficulty together. His mother's name was Patricia Duncan, and she had built her entire identity around being the matriarch of a successful Black family in Baltimore. Her husband had been a principal before he passed when Gerald was in college. She'd raised 3 children alone after that, put them all through school, maintained the house, kept the family together, and she never let anyone forget it. Her home was the center of everything. Every holiday, every celebration, every Sunday dinner, every birthday, every graduation, every accomplishment got announced at her table. Every failure got discussed in her living room. If you married into the Duncan family, you orbited Patricia. You didn't question it. You didn't challenge it. You accepted it. I tried. I really did try. Easter 2020 was the second test. We were at Patricia's house again. Smaller gathering this time because of COVID restrictions, but still 15 people. Immediate family only. I'd offered to help cook. Patricia had said yes on the phone. "Come early," she'd said. "We'll cook together." I arrived at 9 in the morning with Gerald. The kitchen was already full. Patricia, Dorothy, Monica, and Keisha were all moving around each other in practiced rhythm. They knew where everything was. They knew the routine. They'd been doing this for decades. "Good morning," I said brightly. I'd brought an apron. "Morning," Patricia said without looking at me. She was seasoning a ham. "You can set the table." I thought I could help cook. "Table needs setting. China is in the dining room hutch, silverware in the drawer by the sink." It wasn't a request. It was a dismissal. I set the table. It took 20 minutes. When I came back to the kitchen, everyone was laughing about something. The conversation stopped when I walked in. "All done?" Patricia asked. "Yes. What else can I help with?" "We're good in here. Why don't you go relax? Keep the men company." The men were in the living room watching basketball. I sat with them for 10 minutes, not watching the game, listening to the sounds of laughter and easy conversation coming from the kitchen. Gerald didn't notice I was uncomfortable. He was absorbed in the game, yelling at the TV, high-fiving Terrence when someone scored. I went back to the kitchen. "Are you sure I can't help with anything?" Patricia turned to me. Her smile was pleasant. Her voice was kind, but her eyes were cold. "Simone, honey, we have a system in here. It's easier if we just stick to what we know. You understand?" I understood. I wasn't part of the system. I wasn't part of we. I went back to the living room. I sat there feeling useless and excluded while the women in my husband's family cooked together in the next room. When dinner was served, Patricia made a point of thanking everyone who'd helped. She listed their names. She did not list mine. "Simone set the table," Gerald offered. He said it proudly, like he was helping. "Yes," Patricia said. "It looks lovely." The table. Like I was a child who'd been given a task to keep me occupied. I started to notice patterns after that. The way Patricia would ask me to do things that kept me separate from the real work, watching the kids, running to the store for something she'd forgotten, setting up chairs, wrapping leftovers at the end of the night, tasks that were helpful but peripheral, tasks that meant I was never really included in the core group of women who ran things. And Gerald never noticed. Or if he did, he saw it as normal. His mother directing, me helping. That was how family worked. The 4th of July that year, there was a big cookout at Patricia's house. The first real gathering since COVID had eased up. 40 people in the backyard, music playing, kids running around, grills going. I wore red, white, and blue like Patricia had suggested in a group text to all the family women. When I arrived, I realized I was the only one who'd actually done it. Everyone else wore normal summer clothes. Keisha caught my eye and looked away quickly. Monica smiled at me sympathetically but didn't say anything. I looked like I'd tried too hard, like I was performing, like I didn't understand the unspoken rules. Patricia was holding court near the grills, talking to her sisters and some of the older women in the family. I walked over to join the conversation. I stood at the edge of the circle, waited for a break, tried to find a moment to enter. Patricia was telling a story about Gerald when he was young. Something funny. Everyone was laughing. I laughed too. She glanced at me when I did, then continued the story like I wasn't there. I stood there for 5 more minutes. No one acknowledged me. No one shifted to make room in the circle. I was standing right there and I was invisible. I walked away. I found Gerald playing spades with his cousins. I stood behind him for a while, watching. He didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge me. I put my hand on his shoulder. He reached up and patted it absently, his eyes on his cards. I went inside to use the bathroom. On my way back out, I heard Patricia in the kitchen with Dorothy. "She tries so hard," Patricia was saying. "It's almost sad." "She seems sweet," Dorothy said. "Sweet doesn't mean she fits. Gerald needs someone who understands family, real family. This girl is too focused on herself, her career, her needs. That's not how we were raised." I stood in the hallway, frozen. I should have walked away. I should have made noise so they'd know I was there. But I couldn't move. "Give her time," Dorothy said. "She'll learn." Some people don't learn, some people just don't have it in them. I went back outside. I smiled. I made conversation with people who barely knew my name. I stayed until it was acceptable to leave, and then I told Gerald I had a headache. He was annoyed. "We just got here. We've been here for 4 hours. It's a family thing. You can't just leave. I have a headache." He looked at me like I was being difficult. "Fine, I'll take you home, but I'm coming back." He did. He dropped me off at our condo and went back to the party. He didn't come home until after midnight. I didn't tell him what I'd heard. I knew by then that it wouldn't matter. He would tell me I'd misunderstood, that I was being sensitive, that his mother didn't mean it like that, so I kept it to myself, and something inside me started to harden. By the fall of 2020, I'd started to recognize the script. Every family event followed the same pattern. I would arrive hopeful. I would try to participate. Patricia would find a way to diminish me that was small enough to be deniable, but clear enough that everyone noticed. Gerald would be oblivious or complicit. I would leave feeling smaller than when I arrived. Thanksgiving that year, Patricia asked me to bring rolls, store-bought rolls. She was very specific about that. "Don't make them from scratch," she'd said on the phone. "Just get the Sister Schubert ones from the store. That's what we always have." I bought the rolls. I heated them according to the package directions. I put them in a nice basket with a cloth napkin. When I set them on the table, Patricia picked up the basket, looked inside, and frowned. "Oh, I thought you were bringing the Sister Schubert ones." I did. "These aren't Sister Schubert. These are a different brand." They were the exact same thing. Frozen rolls. But she'd found something to criticize. Something small enough that I couldn't defend myself without looking petty. "I'm sorry," I said. "I thought these were the same." "It's fine," she said in a tone that meant it wasn't fine. "They'll do." Gerald heard the exchange. He was standing right there. He said nothing. At dinner, Patricia made a point of commenting on every dish. Who made it? how good it was, family recipes, traditions. She complimented Dorothy's dressing, Monica's greens, Keisha's mac and cheese. When we got to the rolls, she said nothing, just passed the basket without comment. It was such a small thing, such a stupid, petty, small thing, but it landed like a slap, because everyone noticed, and no one said anything. They all just passed the basket and avoided my eyes. I barely ate. I pushed food around my plate. I smiled when people spoke to me. I helped clear the table. I washed dishes. I did everything right, and I felt wrong the entire time. That night, I tried again with Gerald. We were getting ready for bed. He was in a good mood. He'd eaten too much. He was happy, relaxed. "Your mother was upset about the rolls," I said quietly. "What rolls?" "The ones I brought. She said they were the wrong brand." He laughed. "That's just how she is. She's particular. Don't worry about it." "I do worry about it. She finds something wrong with everything I do." "You're exaggerating." "I'm not. She criticizes me at every gathering. She excludes me. She makes me feel like I don't belong there." He stopped what he was doing and looked at me. Really looked at me. For a moment, I thought he was finally hearing me, finally understanding. "You're taking things too personally," he said. "My mother is hard on everyone. That's how she shows she cares. If she didn't care about you, she wouldn't bother." "That doesn't make sense." "It does in our family. You're just not used to it. You'll understand once you've been around longer." "It's been almost 2 years, Gerald." "That's not that long. Keisha and Monica had to adjust too. They didn't just walk in and feel comfortable. It takes time." "Did your mother throw away their food in front of everyone?" His face hardened. "You're still on that? That was over a year ago. You need to let it go." "I would let it go if it had stopped, but it hasn't. She finds new ways to make me feel unwelcome every time I see her." "Then maybe you're looking for it. Maybe you're so convinced she doesn't like you that you interpret everything she does in the worst possible way." That hurt more than anything Patricia had done, because it meant he thought the problem was me, my perception, my sensitivity, my failure to adapt. I stopped talking. I turned away from him and got into bed. He stood there for a moment, then sighed like I was being unreasonable. "I'm trying to help you understand," he said, "but you have to be willing to see it from her perspective." I didn't answer. I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. He got into bed beside me. Within minutes, he was actually asleep, breathing heavy, completely at peace. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. Because here's what I was starting to understand. I wasn't just battling Patricia's rejection. I was battling Gerald's refusal to see it. And that was a fight I couldn't win. Because as long as he believed his mother's behavior was normal, as long as he thought I was the problem, nothing would change. I started editing myself after that, becoming smaller, quieter. I stopped offering opinions at family gatherings. I stopped trying to join conversations. I stopped volunteering to help because I'd learned that my help wasn't wanted. I showed up. I smiled. I was polite. But I stopped being present. I stopped hoping things would get better. Gerald noticed the change, but he misunderstood it. "You're finally settling in," he said one Sunday after we'd left his mother's house. "You seem more comfortable." I wasn't comfortable. I was numb, but I didn't correct him. Christmas 2020 was worse because by then I knew exactly what to expect, and I went anyway. Patricia had planned a smaller gathering because of COVID, just immediate family, 15 people. I didn't bring any food. I'd learned that lesson. I brought wine instead, expensive wine, a bottle of red and a bottle of white. Patricia accepted them with a tight smile. "How thoughtful," she said. Then she put them in the kitchen and served a different wine with dinner. The bottles I'd brought stayed unopened on the counter. After dinner, Patricia handed out gifts again. This was the second year. I knew what was coming, but I hoped maybe it would be different. Maybe she'd learned my interests by now. Maybe she'd put some thought into it. She handed me a gift bag, tissue paper on top. I pulled it out carefully, aware that everyone was watching. Inside was a generic candle, the same one as last year, possibly the exact same one. Same scent, same discount store brand, still in the plastic wrapper. I looked up. Patricia was watching me with that pleasant smile, that smile that dared me to react, that smile that said she knew exactly what she was doing. "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "I hope you like it," she said sweetly. "I know how hard you are to shop for." Gerald got a cashmere sweater. Keisha got earrings that had belonged to their grandmother. Terrence got an expensive watch. Monica got a leather handbag. I got a $3 candle. No one said anything, but everyone saw. And their silence was its own message. This was acceptable. This was normal. This was what I deserved. I held that candle in my lap for the rest of the evening. I didn't set it down. I didn't put it aside. I just held it like it was something precious, because the alternative was throwing it across the room, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. Gerald opened his gifts. He thanked his mother. He modeled the sweater. He didn't notice that my gift was different. Or if he did, he didn't think it mattered. On the way home that night, I was silent. Gerald was talking about something, some story his cousin had told. I wasn't listening. "You okay?" he asked eventually. "Fine." "You're quiet." "I'm tired." "Did you have a good time?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I realized something that made my chest ache. He genuinely didn't know. He genuinely believed I'd had a good time. He'd spent the entire evening with his family, happy and comfortable, and he had no idea that I'd spent it holding a $3 candle and trying not to cry. "It was fine," I said. He smiled. "Good. I'm glad you're finally feeling like part of the family." I turned to look out the window. I didn't respond, because what could I say? That I would never be part of his family? That his mother made sure of that at every opportunity? That he was so deep inside the system, he couldn't see what it was doing to me? I said nothing, and something inside me broke that night. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet fracture, a crack that would keep spreading until there was nothing left to hold together. By early 2021, I'd stopped pretending. I went to family events because Gerald expected it, but I didn't try anymore. I didn't attempt conversation. I didn't offer to help. I showed up, I was polite, and I left as soon as it was socially acceptable. Gerald thought I was being cold. "You barely talked to anyone today," he said after a Sunday dinner at Patricia's in February. "I talked." "You answered when people spoke to you. That's not the same as talking. What do you want me to do? I want you to make an effort, to be part of things. You sit there like you don't want to be there." "I don't want to be there." He stopped, stared at me. "What?" "I don't want to be there, Gerald. Your mother doesn't want me there. Your family doesn't want me there. I'm only there because you expect it. So I go, and I'm polite, but I'm not going to pretend I enjoy it." "That's not true. My mother likes you." I almost laughed. "No, she doesn't. She's invited you into her home every week for 2 years. She tolerates me. There's a difference." "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" "When was the last time she said my name, Gerald? When was the last time she asked me a question about myself? When was the last time she included me in anything that mattered? She includes you in everything. She gives me tasks. She lets me set tables and watch kids and run errands. She doesn't include me, she manages me." He shook his head. "You're determined to see the worst in her. I don't know what else I can do. I can't make you feel welcome if you've decided you're not." And there it was, the fundamental disconnect. He thought it was my choice, my perception, my failure. He couldn't see that his mother had been systematically excluding me for 2 years. He couldn't see that every family gathering was a performance where I was the outsider being tolerated. He couldn't see it because he'd never been on the outside. He'd never been the one handed a $3 candle, while everyone else got gifts that showed thought and care. I stopped trying to explain it to him. What was the point? He'd made up his mind. His mother was well-intentioned. I was oversensitive. That was the story he was going with. So I retreated further. I started declining events when I could. I made excuses, work commitments, headaches, feeling ill. Gerald got frustrated every time. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," he said when I told him I wasn't going to his cousin's birthday party in April. "I'm not feeling well." "You're never feeling well when it comes to my family." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? You find an excuse every time. My mother thinks you don't like her." "I don't." His face went cold. "Don't say that." "Why not? It's true, I don't like her, and she doesn't like me. We're both pretending, and it's exhausting." "She's my mother." "I know, and I've never asked you to choose. But I'm also not going to keep showing up to events where I'm treated like an inconvenience." "She doesn't treat you like an inconvenience." I looked at him for a long moment, and I realized we were never going to agree on this. We were living in two completely different realities. In his reality, his mother was welcoming and I was difficult. In mine, I'd spent 2 years being systematically diminished, and he'd watched it happen without saying a word. "Okay," I said finally. "Okay, what?" "Okay, you're right. I'm wrong. I'll try harder." I didn't mean it. But it was easier than fighting. Easier than trying to make him see something he was determined not to see. I went to the birthday party. I smiled. I made small talk. I left after 2 hours with another headache. Gerald stayed until the end. He came home after midnight, annoyed that I'd left early again. We were growing apart. I could feel it. The distance widening. We slept in the same bed, but we barely touched anymore. We had conversations, but they were surface level. Logistics, schedules, bills. We didn't talk about anything that mattered because everything that mattered led back to his family, and his family was the thing breaking us. The breaking point came in July 2021. We were at Patricia's house for a cousin's birthday. It was hot. The air conditioning was broken and everyone was irritable. I was in the kitchen getting water when I heard Patricia talking to Dorothy in the next room. They didn't know I was there. The kitchen door was open just slightly. I could see them through the gap. They were sitting at the dining room table, folding napkins or something. Just the two of them. "I don't know what Gerald was thinking," Patricia said. Her voice carried through the doorway, clear and sharp. "She doesn't fit. She's not one of us. She doesn't understand family." I froze, glass in hand, every muscle in my body locked. "You tried to include her," Dorothy said. It sounded rehearsed, like they'd had this conversation before, multiple times. "I did everything I could. I invited her to everything. I tried to teach her our ways, but you can't force these things. Some people just don't belong. She's too focused on herself, her career, her own needs. She doesn't understand to sacrifice. She doesn't understand putting family first. Gerald loves her. Gerald thinks he loves her, but he'll realize eventually. He'll see that she's not built for this family, and when he does, I'll be here." My hands were shaking. The glass was trembling so much that water was sloshing over the edge. I set it down carefully on the counter. I didn't trust myself to hold it anymore. "You think he'll leave her?" Dorothy asked. "I think the marriage won't last." "How can it? She's pulling away already. She barely comes around anymore. She makes excuses. She acts like being part of this family is a burden. Eventually, Gerald will get tired of it. He'll want someone who wants to be here." I could have walked in right then. I could have confronted her. I could have made her say it to my face. But I didn't. Because what would that accomplish? She'd already said it. Everyone at that table knew how she felt. Gerald knew. They all knew. And they'd all chosen her side. I walked outside to the backyard where Gerald was playing cards with Terrence and 2 of his cousins. They were laughing about something. Gerald's whole face was lit up, happy, easy, comfortable. He looked up when I approached. "Hey, babe, you want in on the next game?" I looked at him, at his smile. at the easy way he existed in this space, and I felt the full weight of what I'd been trying to ignore for 2 years. He was never going to choose me. Not really, because choosing me would mean seeing what his family was doing, and seeing it would mean having to do something about it, and doing something about it would mean conflict, distance, choosing sides. It was easier to believe I was the problem. "I need to go home," I said. His smile faded. "Now? We just got here." "I don't feel well," he sighed, put down his cards. "Another headache?" "Something like that. Can you wait an hour? We're in the middle of a game." "I'll call a lift." "Don't be ridiculous. I'll take you." He stood up, already annoyed. "Sorry guys, gotta go." They made sympathetic noises. Terrence gave me a look that might have been concern or might have been judgment. I couldn't tell anymore. I didn't care. We drove home in silence. Gerald was radiating frustration. I was numb. "This is getting old," he said when we pulled into our parking space. "I know. Every single time, every family event. You find a reason to leave early." "I know. Do you even want to be part of my family?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I told him the truth. "No." His mouth opened, closed. "What?" "I don't want to be part of your family. I've tried for 2 years and I don't want to anymore. I'm done." "You're done? What does that mean?" "It means I'm not going to keep pretending. I'm not going to keep showing up to events where your mother makes it clear I'm not welcome. I'm not going to keep smiling while she hands me $3 candles and throws away my food and tells everyone in earshot that I don't belong. I'm done. She doesn't. Yes, she does. She does, Gerald, and you know it. You've always known it. You just don't want to deal with it. That's not fair. What's not fair is asking me to keep subjecting myself to her treatment because it's easier for you than standing up to her. I can't stand up to my own mother. Why not? Because she's my mother, and I'm your wife." He stared at me, and I watched him struggle with it, watched him try to find a way to make both things true, to keep his mother happy and keep me happy, to avoid conflict, to make it all work without having to choose. He couldn't do it, and I realized in that moment that he never would. "I need some air," he said. He got out of the car and walked away. I sat there in the parking garage for 20 minutes before I went upstairs to our apartment. He didn't come home until late that night. When he did, he got into bed without speaking to me. We lay there in the dark, back to back, and I knew something fundamental had shifted. We couldn't come back from this. The next few months were cold, polite, distant. We were roommates who used to be married. He went to family events alone. I stayed home. He stopped asking me to come. I stopped making excuses. We barely spoke. When we did, it was about practical things: bills, schedules, the weather. Then in September 2021, I got the call about Richmond. A headhunter reached out about a position, a good position, director level, better pay. A chance to run my own department at a mid-sized consulting firm that was expanding into new markets. The office was in Richmond, 2 hours south of Baltimore. I took the interview just to see, just to have options. I told myself I probably wouldn't get it. I told myself I was just exploring. I got it. They made an offer the same day I interviewed. They wanted me to start in January. I sat with the offer letter for 3 days before I told Gerald. We were having dinner. Takeout at the kitchen table. We'd barely spoken to each other all day. "I got a job offer," I said. He looked up. "Yeah? Doing what?" "Director of Strategic Planning. It's a promotion, significant raise." "That's great." He meant it. He looked genuinely happy for me. "When do you start?" "January, if I take it." "Why wouldn't you take it?" "It's in Richmond." His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Richmond?" "Yes." "Virginia?" "Yes." He set his fork down. "That's 2 hours away." "I know. We live here." "I know." "So, what? You're saying no, right?" I looked at him. At this man I'd married 3 years ago. This man who was supposed to be my partner, my person. And I felt nothing but tired. I don't know, I said. I'm considering it. Considering it? Simone, we're married. You can't just move 2 hours away. We could both move. You could transfer, or look for something new in Richmond. I'm not leaving Baltimore. Why not? My family is here. I'm your family. You know what I mean. I did know. I'd always known. But hearing him say it out loud still hurt. So what are you suggesting? I asked. That I turn down a major promotion because you won't consider leaving the city where your mother lives? I'm suggesting we figure this out together, as a couple. Maybe you can commute, or do remote work a few days a week. It's a director position. I need to be there. Then I guess you have a choice to make. The way he said it, like it was my choice, my decision, my fault if things fell apart. Not our choice, not our marriage, not something we needed to figure out together. My choice. Yeah, I said quietly. I guess I do. I took the job. I told myself we'd figure it out. Long distance for a while. Weekends. We'd make it work. But I already knew. We both did. This was the beginning of the end. I moved to Richmond in February 2022. Gerald helped me move my things. He was quiet the whole drive down. When we got to my new apartment, a small one-bedroom in Scott's addition, he helped me unload boxes. We worked in silence. When everything was inside, he stood in my empty living room and looked around. "This is really happening," he said. "Yeah, you really chose this over us." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him that I hadn't chosen anything over us, that he'd chosen his mother over me every single day for 3 years, that I'd begged him to see me and he wouldn't, that this job wasn't about leaving him, it was about saving myself. But I didn't say any of that because what was the point? "I chose myself," I said instead. He nodded slowly. "I guess that's clear." He left that night, drove back to Baltimore. He texted when he got home, made it safe. That was it. That was all we had left, safety confirmations and silence. He came down to Richmond twice in the first month. Both visits were strained. He complained about the drive, about the apartment, about the city. He didn't like the restaurant I'd chosen for dinner. He didn't like that I didn't have cable yet. He didn't like that I'd joined a gym that wasn't his chain. He left early both times. I went back to Baltimore on weekends at first, but every visit felt heavier. Every Sunday dinner at Patricia's felt like evidence that I had abandoned ship, that I had chosen my career over family, over real priorities. Patricia never said it directly. She didn't have to. It was in every look, every comment about how hard it must be for Gerald with me so far away, every mention of other couples who'd made it work because the wife understood priorities. Gerald sat there and said nothing, like always. By April, I'd stopped going back every weekend. By June, I was going back once a month. By August, not at all. Gerald and I talked less and less. Our phone calls got shorter, more perfunctory. We ran out of things to say to each other. In September, he asked for a divorce. He didn't call. He texted. "We need to talk about our situation." I knew what he meant. I called him. "This isn't working," he said. His voice was flat, resigned. "You're in Richmond. I'm here. We're barely talking, barely seeing each other. This isn't a marriage anymore." "No," I agreed. "It's not. So maybe we should make it official." "Okay." He paused. I think he expected me to fight, to cry, to beg him to reconsider. "Okay," he repeated. "Yes, if that's what you want, okay." "You don't want to try to work it out?" I almost laughed. "Gerald, we haven't been working on this marriage for years. I tried, you know I tried, but you chose your mother over me every single time, and now you're acting like I'm the one who gave up. You moved away. I took a job. You refused to even consider coming with me. I told you, my family, your family isn't me. Your family was never me, and that was always the problem." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "Maybe you're right. I am right. So we're doing this?" "Yeah, we're doing this." The divorce was quick, quiet. We didn't have kids. We split our assets cleanly. He kept the Baltimore condo. I kept my Richmond apartment. We divided our savings. We signed papers. It was over by December 2022. On the day the divorce was finalized, I sat in my apartment and waited to feel something. Sadness, relief, regret, something. All I felt was tired and free. I spent the holidays alone that year. I ordered Thai food on Christmas. I watched movies. I slept in. I didn't think about Baltimore or Patricia's table or what Gerald was doing. I just existed in my own space without having to prove anything to anyone. It was the best Christmas I'd had in years. Richmond became home slowly, not all at once, not dramatically, just gradually, like roots growing. I threw myself into work. I was good at it, better than good. The firm had hired me to expand their strategic planning division, and I did. I landed 3 major accounts in my first 6 months: healthcare, tech, finance. I built a team. I created systems. I proved myself. In March 2023, they promoted me again. Senior director, corner office, significant raise. My boss took me to lunch to celebrate. "You've exceeded every expectation," she said. "We're lucky to have you." Lucky to have me. When was the last time someone had said that? When was the last time I'd felt valued instead of tolerated? I started building a life outside of work too. Small steps, careful steps. I joined a book club through a local bookstore. 8 women who met once a month to discuss whatever we'd read. The first meeting I attended, I barely spoke. Old habits. But one of the women, Nicole, asked me a question about my perspective on the book and actually listened to my answer. Asked follow-up questions. Seemed genuinely interested. It had been so long since someone was genuinely interested in what I thought. I started going to gallery openings. Richmond had a small but active art scene. I'd always loved painting, but I'd stopped during my marriage. Too busy, too tired, too focused on trying to fit into Gerald's family. I bought supplies, canvas, brushes, good paint. I set up a corner of my apartment as a studio space. I started painting again. At first, everything I created was dark, muddy colors, angry brushstrokes. I painted what I'd felt for 4 years and couldn't say. But slowly, over months, the paintings got lighter, brighter. I started experimenting with color again. In June 2023, I bought a house. A small row house in Church Hill. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Original hardwood floors that needed refinishing, a kitchen that needed updating, a backyard that was mostly weeds. It was perfect. It was mine, just mine. No one else's opinion mattered. No one else's approval required. I spent weekends fixing it up, painting walls, refinishing floors, planting flowers in the backyard. Every improvement felt like reclaiming something, like building a life that was entirely my own. My parents came to visit in July. They walked through the house with big smiles. "I'm so proud of you," my mother said. She was standing in my kitchen, looking out at the backyard. "You've built something real here. It's just a house," I said. "It's more than that, it's yours. After everything you went through, you built this. That takes strength." I hadn't told them much about the divorce, just that it hadn't worked out, that we'd grown apart. They'd met Gerald a few times and they'd been polite, but I don't think they'd ever understood what I saw in him. They'd never said it, but I knew. My mother hugged me in that kitchen and I felt something crack open in my chest, something I'd been holding tight for years. "I'm okay," I said into her shoulder. "I know you are, baby. I know." I started making friends. Real friends. Nicole from book club introduced me to her running group. I wasn't much of a runner, but I started going on Saturday mornings, slowly at first, just a mile or 2, then more. There was something meditative about it. Moving through the city in the early morning, watching Richmond wake up. No destination, no timeline, just movement. One of the women in the running group, Jasmine, worked in marketing. We started grabbing coffee after runs, talking about work, life, everything and nothing. She never knew Gerald, never knew Patricia. never knew the version of me who'd spent 4 years trying to earn acceptance from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth it. She just knew me. This version, the Richmond version, and she liked me. It was such a simple thing, being liked without having to earn it, without having to prove I was worthy of basic kindness. I started therapy in September 2023. I'd been thinking about it for months, but I kept putting it off. Too busy, too expensive, too much to unpack. But my insurance covered it, and I finally made the appointment. My therapist's name was Dr. Williams, Black woman, early 50s, warm but direct. The first session, she asked me why I was there. I went through a divorce, I said. I'm doing okay, but I thought it might help to talk about it. When did you get divorced? It was finalized last December, about 10 months ago. How do you feel about it? Fine. Good, actually. Relieved. Then why are you here? I laughed. I don't know. I guess I thought I should feel worse than I do, and I'm worried that there's something wrong with me for not feeling worse. Tell me about your marriage. I did. Not everything. Not in one session. But over weeks, I told her about Patricia, about Gerald, about 4 years of being slowly erased. She listened without judgment, without trying to fix it, just listened. Do you think you deserved that treatment? She asked one day. No. Do you think you deserved to be defended? Yes. Did Gerald defend you? No. Why do you think that was? I sat with that question for a long time, because it was easier not to, because defending me would mean conflict with his mother, and he couldn't handle that. What does that tell you about the marriage? That it was never going to work, because he needed me to be okay with being disrespected so he could avoid conflict. She nodded. And are you okay with that? Looking back? I'm okay with leaving. I'm okay with choosing myself. I'm not okay with how long it took me to do it. Why do you think it took so long? Because I thought I could fix it. I thought if I tried hard enough, if I was patient enough, if I loved him enough, it would get better. And did it? No. So what did you learn? That some things can't be fixed. Some people won't choose you no matter how much you love them, and staying in that situation doesn't make you strong. It just makes you smaller. Dr. Williams smiled. That's growth. It doesn't feel like growth. It feels like I wasted 4 years. You didn't waste them. You learned something essential about yourself, about what you will and won't accept. That's not waste. That's education. I kept going to therapy. Not every week, but regularly. It helped, not in dramatic ways, just in small shifts, small clarifications. I started setting boundaries in other areas of my life, at work, with friends, with my family. I started saying no when I meant no. I started asking for what I needed instead of waiting for people to guess. I started taking up space again. By early 2024, I barely thought about Gerald. When I did, it was distant, like remembering someone I used to know in college. The hurt had faded into something else. Not forgiveness, exactly, just indifference. I didn't think about Patricia at all. I didn't know that everything in Baltimore was falling apart. I didn't know that Terrence had gotten into serious financial trouble. Bad investments in a friend's restaurant that went under, a business loan he'd co-signed that the other party defaulted on. He lost his house in the spring of 2023, moved back in with Patricia, temporarily. I didn't know that temporary turned into 8 months of tension. Terrence drinking too much, Patricia criticizing everything. Monica caught in the middle trying to hold her marriage together while living under her mother-in-law's roof. I didn't know they fought. Bad fights. The kind that ended with doors slamming and days of silence. I didn't know Terrence finally moved out in January 2024, but the damage was done. He was barely speaking to Patricia, barely speaking to Monica. The marriage was hanging by a thread. I didn't know that Keisha's marriage had fallen apart too, that she'd found out her husband was cheating, that she'd left him in the summer of 2023 and moved to Atlanta with her 2 daughters to be near her college roommate who'd offered support. I didn't know Keisha stopped coming back for holidays, stopped answering Patricia's calls, stopped participating in the family she'd grown up in because she was too busy rebuilding a life for her daughters. I didn't know Patricia took it personally, saw it as abandonment, saw it as Keisha choosing her own needs over family. I didn't know Patricia got sick in the fall of 2024. It started as a bad cold, then pneumonia, then complications because she waited too long to see a doctor. She ended up in the hospital for a week, then home with oxygen, then weeks of recovery that left her weaker than she'd ever been. She was 71. She'd always been strong, capable, the center of everything. But now she needed help, real help, daily help. Someone to make sure she took her medications, someone to help her shower, someone to cook meals and drive her to doctor's appointments and manage the house she'd managed alone for 20 years. Gerald tried. He really did. But he was working 60-hour weeks trying to make partner at his firm. He couldn't be there every day. He hired a part-time aide, but Patricia hated having a stranger in her house. She fired 3 different people in 2 months. Monica helped when she could. But she was working 2 jobs trying to keep her household together while Terrence was falling apart. She had her own kids to manage, her own life to maintain. She couldn't be there every day either. They needed Keisha. But Keisha was in Atlanta building a new life, and she'd made it clear she wasn't coming back to Baltimore. Not for holidays, not for emergencies, not for anything. The family was fracturing. The center wasn't holding, and that's when someone, I still don't know who, suggested me. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon in November 2024. I was at work in a meeting with a client when my phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Unknown number, Baltimore area code. I ignored it. Finished my meeting. Checked my voicemail an hour later. Hi, Simone. This is Monica Duncan, Gerald's sister-in-law. I don't know if you remember me. I'm calling because, well, we need help. Patricia is sick and we're trying to organize care, and we hope maybe you'd be willing to help, even just temporarily. Please call me back. I listened to the voicemail twice. Then I saved it and went back to work. She called again the next day. I let it go to voicemail again. Simone, it's Monica again. I know this is awkward. I know things ended badly with you and Gerald, but this isn't about that. This is about Patricia. She needs help, and we're all trying to figure out how to manage it. We're willing to pay you, whatever you think is fair. We need someone, and your family. We're family. Please consider it. Family. I deleted the voicemail. She called a 3rd time on Friday. I answered. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe old habits. Hello? Simone? Oh, thank God. Thank you for answering. I've been trying to reach you. I got your messages. I know this is out of the blue. I know things are complicated, but we're really struggling here, and we thought, why me? She paused. What? Why are you calling me? I've been divorced from Gerald for 2 years. I'm not part of the family anymore. So why are you calling me? Because you were always so patient with Patricia. You understood her. We thought maybe you'd be willing to help. I almost laughed. Patient, understanding. Was that how they remembered it? Monica, I appreciate the call, but I can't help you. Can't or won't? Both. Simone, please. She's really sick. She's scared. She needs people around her, and we're all trying, but no one can be there full time. We're looking at facilities, but she doesn't want that. She wants to be home, with family. Then call her family. You are her family. No, I said quietly. I'm not. Gerald made that very clear. Patricia made that very clear, and I accepted it. So please don't call me family now that you need something. That's not fair, isn't it? She was quiet for a moment. I know she wasn't always kind to you. I saw that. We all saw it. But she's sick now, and she's different. She's softer. She's sorry. Is she? Did she say that? Another pause. Not in so many words, but I think she regrets how things were. Then she can call me herself and tell me that? She won't. You know how she is. She doesn't apologize. Then I guess we're done here. Simone? I hung up. I sat at my desk for a long time after that call, looking out my window at Richmond, at the city I'd built a life in, the city that had nothing to do with Baltimore or the Duncans or any of it. I felt strange, not guilty, not sad, just strange. Monica didn't call back that day, or the next, but Gerald called on Monday. I saw his name on my screen. I hadn't heard from him since the divorce was finalized, nearly 2 years. I let it go to voicemail. Simone, it's Gerald. I know you don't want to talk to me, I understand that. But my mother is really sick and we're trying to figure out care. And Monica said she called you. I'm asking you to reconsider. Not for me, for her. I know things weren't perfect between you two, but she's 71 and she's scared and she's asking for help. We need help. Please call me back. Things weren't perfect. That was how he described 4 years of systematic exclusion and dismissal. Imperfect. I played the voicemail 3 times, listening to his voice. The same voice that used to tell me I was being too sensitive, that I was taking things too personally, that I needed to try harder. Now he needed me to try harder one more time. I deleted the voicemail. He called again 2 days later. I didn't listen, just deleted it. Then Patricia called. I saw her name on my screen and my stomach dropped. I'd never gotten a call from her, not in all the years I'd known her. She'd never had a reason to call me directly. I let it go to voicemail, but I couldn't delete it without listening. Some part of me needed to hear what she had to say. Her voice was thin, weak, nothing like the strong, commanding voice I remembered. Simone, this is Patricia. I don't know if you'll listen to this. I hope you do. I'm not well. I'm told you were asked to help and you said no. I understand why. I wasn't always kind to you, I know that, but I'm asking now. I need help. We all do. Gerald is trying, but he can't be here all the time. Keisha is in Atlanta. Terrence he's not able to help right now, and I'm scared. I'm asking you to put aside whatever happened between us and help me. Please. She didn't sound like the woman who scraped my mac and cheese into the trash. She didn't sound like the woman who handed me $3 candles while everyone else got meaningful gifts. She sounded small, human, frightened. I listened to that voicemail 5 times. Each time I felt different things: pity, anger, sadness, vindication, guilt. But underneath all of it was something else, something clearer. She was asking me to put aside what happened between us, like it was a small thing, a misunderstanding, a personality conflict, like it hadn't been 4 years of being systematically made to feel unwelcome in my own marriage, like it hadn't broken something fundamental in me that I'd had to spend years rebuilding. She wanted me to put that aside because she needed something from me now, but I didn't owe her that. I didn't owe any of them that. I saved the voicemail, but I didn't respond. That night, I went to my therapy appointment. I told Dr. Williams about the calls. "How do you feel about it?" she asked. "I don't know, conflicted." "What's the conflict?" "Part of me thinks I should help. She's sick, she's old, she's scared, and I'm a decent person who helps people who need it." "And the other part?" "The other part remembers every single time she made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Every Christmas, every holiday, every Sunday dinner, every moment Gerald chose her comfort over my dignity. And that part thinks I don't owe her anything." Which part is louder? I thought about it. The second part, and that makes me feel guilty, like maybe I'm being petty or vindictive. "Do you think you're being petty?" "I don't know." "Let me ask you something else. If you said yes, if you went to Baltimore and helped take care of Patricia, how would you feel?" I closed my eyes, tried to imagine it, walking back into that house, being needed instead of wanted, being useful instead of valued. "Angry," I said finally. I'd feel angry the whole time, and resentful, because they didn't want me when I was trying to be part of the family. They only want me now that they need something from me. That's a valid feeling. But she's sick. Yes, And you're allowed to have compassion for that while also protecting yourself from a situation that hurt you deeply. So you think I should say no? I think you should do what's best for you, not what makes other people comfortable, not what makes you look like a good person, what's actually best for you and your well-being. I thought about that for a long time. What was best for me was staying in Richmond, protecting the life I'd built, not going back to a place that had made me feel small. I'm going to say no, I said. Dr. Williams nodded. Okay, that's it? You're not going to tell me I'm making the right choice? I'm not here to tell you what choices to make. I'm here to help you understand why you're making them. And why am I making this choice? Why do you think? Because I deserve better than being someone's last resort. Because I spent 4 years being treated like I didn't matter, and I'm not going to pretend that's okay just because someone needs me now. There you go. I left that session feeling clearer than I'd felt in weeks. They kept calling. Monica called twice more, left voicemails asking me to reconsider, saying Patricia was getting worse, saying they were running out of options. I didn't respond. Gerald called 3 more times over the next 2 weeks. I didn't listen to any of the voicemails, just deleted them. Terrence called once. His voicemail was short. Hey Simone, it's Terrence. I know we weren't close, but Monica asked me to try calling you. Mom's not doing great and we could really use help. If you could find it in your heart to help out, even just for a little while, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks. If I could find it in my heart, like the problem was my heart. My capacity for compassion, my willingness to forgive, not their treatment of me, not their complicity in my exclusion, not their silence when I needed defending. My heart. I deleted the voicemail. Patricia called 1 more time in early December. I almost didn't listen to the voicemail, but something made me. Simone. Her voice was even weaker than before. I know you're not going to help, I understand. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for how I treated you. I thought I was protecting Gerald. I thought you weren't right for this family. I was wrong. You were trying and I made it impossible. I know that now. I'm sorry. You don't have to forgive me. You don't have to help. I just wanted you to know. I listened to that voicemail 7 times. The apology I'd wanted for 4 years. The acknowledgement that she'd been wrong. That she'd made my life impossible on purpose. She'd finally said it, and it didn't change anything. Because here's what I understood. She wasn't sorry when I needed her to be sorry. She wasn't sorry when I was sitting at her table feeling humiliated. She wasn't sorry when Gerald was choosing her over me. She wasn't sorry when I was crying in her powder room. She was sorry now that she needed me. Now that her family had fractured and she was alone and scared. The apology was real. I believed that. But it wasn't enough. Because sorry doesn't erase years of damage. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't mean I owed her anything. I saved that voicemail too. But I didn't respond. I spent December living my life. I went to holiday parties with friends. I hosted book club at my house. I painted my guest bedroom. I went to therapy. I ran in the mornings. I worked on a major project at the office. I thought about the calls sometimes, late at night, wondering if I was doing the right thing, wondering if I was being cruel, but then I'd remember the mac and cheese in the trash, the $3 candles, the whispered conversation about how I didn't belong, Gerald's laughter, the years of being invisible, and I knew I was doing the right thing. Christmas came and went. I spent it with Nicole and Jasmine and some other friends. We cooked together, exchanged small gifts, watched movies. It was easy, light. No one was judging me. No one was waiting for me to fail. I thought about Patricia's table. 23 people. The sound of ceramic scraping, the silence, and I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just distance. The call stopped after Christmas. In January 2025, I heard through someone who knew someone that Patricia had been moved to a facility, an assisted living place, nice, expensive. They'd hired full-time care because no one in the family could manage it. Terrence had finally found work, something in D.C. with decent pay. He'd moved there. The separation from Monica was official now. They were filing for divorce. Monica was overwhelmed but managing, working, taking care of her kids, visiting Patricia once a week. Gerald was trying to visit twice a week, but his job was demanding and it wasn't enough. Patricia was declining, getting more confused, more frightened. Keisha had come back for one weekend in February, but it ended in a fight about the past and she left early and said she wasn't coming back. The family was breaking apart. The center Patricia had built was collapsing, and I was in Richmond, living my life, building something new. I got promoted again in March 2025, Vice President of Strategic Planning, significant raise, stock options, a seat at the executive table. My boss took me to dinner to celebrate. "You've transformed this division," she said. "The board is thrilled. You're being fast-tracked for bigger things." I was being fast-tracked. Me. The woman who'd spent 4 years being told she didn't understand family, didn't understand priorities, didn't understand sacrifice. I understood all of it now. I just understood it differently. I met someone in April. His name was Damon. He was an architect. We met at a gallery opening, started talking about a painting we both liked, ended up getting coffee afterward. He was easy to talk to, funny, kind. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. We started dating. Nothing serious at first, just casual, dinners, movies, walks through the city. But it felt different than it had with Gerald. Lighter, simpler, right. He met my friends. They liked him. He fit easily into my life, into the Richmond version of me. In May, he asked me about my previous marriage. We were having dinner at my house. I'd cooked. We were sitting on my back porch watching the sunset. "What happened?" he asked. "If you don't mind me asking." I told him. Not everything, but enough. About Patricia, about Gerald, about feeling invisible for 4 years. He listened without interrupting. "That sounds incredibly lonely," he said when I finished. "It was. I'm sorry you went through that." "I'm not. Not anymore. It taught me what I won't accept, what I deserve." "What do you deserve?" "To be chosen, to be defended, to be valued." He reached across the table and took my hand. "You deserve all of that." And I believed him, because he'd been showing me all of that since the day we met. We kept seeing each other. It turned serious. He started staying over more often, leaving things at my house. We talked about future in concrete ways. In June 2025, I got a letter. Not an email, not a phone call. An actual letter, handwritten. Baltimore postmark. I recognized Gerald's handwriting immediately. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at it for 10 minutes before I opened it. The letter was 4 pages. His handwriting was the same. Neat, controlled. The Gerald I remembered. He told me his mother had passed away in May. Peacefully, he said. Surrounded by family, though he didn't specify who exactly. He told me the service had been small, just immediate family and a few close friends. He told me Terrence had come back from D.C. Keisha had come from Atlanta. They'd all tried to set aside their differences for that one day. He told me the family was struggling. Terrence and Monica's divorce was finalized. Terrence was drinking too much. Keisha wasn't returning calls. The house in Baltimore had been sold. The family gatherings had stopped. Then he told me he'd been thinking about me, about our marriage, about the mistakes he'd made. "I understand now that I should have defended you," he wrote. "I should have seen what my mother was doing and stood up to her. I should have prioritized our marriage over keeping the peace with her. I was wrong. I was a coward, and I'm sorry." I read those words 3 times. The apology I'd needed 5 years ago. The acknowledgement I'd begged for. He continued, "I know I don't deserve it, but I've been thinking about you a lot, about who you were, who we were together before everything went wrong. And I wonder if maybe we could talk. Not about getting back together necessarily, just talk. See where we both are now. I'm different. I see things more clearly. I understand things I didn't before. And I miss you. I miss the person I was when I was with you. Please consider it. Please call me. I read the entire letter twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope and set it on the counter. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt clear. Gerald wanted to talk now that his mother was gone, now that his family had fallen apart, now that he was alone and finally seeing what he'd lost. He missed me. He understood now. He was different. But I was different too. I wasn't the woman who'd sat at Patricia's table feeling invisible. I wasn't the woman who'd begged her husband to see her. I wasn't the woman who'd believed love meant enduring mistreatment. I was someone else now. Someone who'd rebuilt herself from the ground up. Someone who'd learned her own worth. Someone who wouldn't accept less than she deserved. And what Gerald was offering, a conversation, maybe a chance to try again, it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Because you can't unmake the past. You can't unsay the things that were said or undo the things that were done. You can't take back 4 years of choosing someone else over your partner. Sorry doesn't erase that. Understanding doesn't fix it. I thought about responding. I drafted 3 different versions in my head, but every version felt like going backward, like opening a door I'd closed for good reason. So I didn't respond. I put the letter in a drawer in my home office and I went back to my life. Gerald called 2 weeks later. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail asking if I'd gotten his letter, asking if we could talk. I deleted the voicemail. He called again a month later. Same thing, letter, talk. Please. I deleted that voicemail too. He sent another letter in August. I didn't open it. I put it in the drawer with the first one and left it there. Because here's what I finally understood completely. You can't ask someone to be invisible for years and then expect them to reappear when it's convenient. You can't dismiss someone's worth and then be surprised when they stop offering it. You can't choose someone else over and over and then act confused when they finally choose themselves. Gerald had decided I wasn't worth defending. Patricia had decided I wasn't worth including. They'd both decided I wasn't family. And after years of trying to prove them wrong, I'd finally accepted they were right. I wasn't their family. I was my own. And I'd built something better without them. I heard through the network of people who knew people that Gerald moved to Philadelphia eventually. Took a job there. New city. Fresh start. I heard Terrence got sober. That he was in AA and rebuilding his relationship with his kids. I heard Monica got remarried, someone she'd met at work, someone who treated her well. I heard Keisha was thriving in Atlanta. Her daughters were doing great. She'd started her own business. She'd built a whole life that had nothing to do with Baltimore. I heard the Duncan family wasn't the same anymore. The gatherings had stopped. The traditions had ended. The center Patricia had built for 40 years had collapsed within a year of her death. I didn't feel victorious hearing any of this. I didn't feel satisfied or vindicated. I just felt grateful I wasn't part of it anymore. My life kept moving forward. Damon and I started looking at houses together in the fall. Bigger houses, something we could share, build together. We talked about marriage, not immediately, but eventually, when we were both ready. He fit so easily into my life, into my friend group, into my family. My parents loved him. My sister loved him. He loved me, really loved me. Not the version of me he wanted me to be, just me, as I was. It was simple, easy, right. One night in November, we were having dinner at my house. I'd made pasta. We were drinking wine on the back porch, even though it was getting cold. I got another letter from Gerald, I said. Did you read it? No. Are you going to? No. He was quiet for a moment. Do you ever wonder if you should respond, just to close that chapter completely? The chapter is closed. Responding would open it back up. Fair enough. He took a sip of wine. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever regret it? Not helping when his mother was sick, not responding to his letters?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret choosing my own well-being over their convenience. They had years to treat me differently, years to choose me. They didn't. So when they finally needed me, I wasn't available anymore, and that's not cruelty. That's just consequence." He nodded, squeezed my hand. "I love you. I love you too." We sat there in the November cold, watching the last light fade from the sky, and I felt completely at peace. The revenge wasn't in what I said. It wasn't in what I did. It was in what I didn't do. I didn't go back. I didn't answer. I didn't give them access to me when they finally decided I had value. I let them lose me. And that loss, that absence, that permanently closed door was the only justice I needed. They had made me feel small for years. They had made me feel like I would never be enough, like I didn't understand family or priorities or what mattered, and now I was simply unavailable, not out of spite, not out of anger, not to hurt them, out of peace. I had built a life they weren't part of, a good life, a full life, a life where I was chosen and valued and loved, a life where I didn't have to prove anything to anyone. And when they came looking for me, when they finally needed me, when they finally saw my worth, I was already gone. Not because I wanted to hurt them, but because I had finally learned to value myself. And that was something they could never ask me to give up again. I kept living. I kept building. I kept growing. Damon proposed in March 2026 on my back porch, same place we'd had so many conversations. He got down on one knee and asked me to build a future with him. I said yes without hesitation. We started planning a wedding, small, intimate, just people who loved us. No performances, no proving, just celebration. I thought about what a wedding in the Duncan family would have looked like. Patricia directing everything, every detail needing her approval. Me trying to make everyone happy and making myself invisible in the process. This was different. This was ours. We got married in June 2026 in my backyard in Richmond. 40 people, my family, his family, our friends. It was perfect, simple, joyful, everything a wedding should be. During the reception, my mother pulled me aside. "You're happy," she said. "I am. Really happy, I can see it." "I know." She hugged me. "I'm so glad you found this, found him, found yourself." "Me too." I looked around at the people in my backyard, people who chose to be there, people who loved me, people who saw me. And I realized something. This was the family I'd been trying to build all along, not the one I'd married into, not the one that required me to shrink and perform and prove. This one, the one I'd chosen, the one that chose me back. Gerald was in Philadelphia somewhere, living whatever life he'd built. Patricia was gone. The Duncan family had scattered, and I was here, in Richmond, married to someone who loved me, surrounded by people who valued me. Living proof that the best revenge isn't what you do to people who hurt you. It's what you build without them. And I'd built something beautiful. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And before you go, click on Hype to help this video reach even more people. Your support keeps these voices alive and keeps our community growing. Thank you for listening.